Hey, it's Mary, and I'm back with a Fab Friday project for the month of June. We have been focusing on flashing back to the 80s and the 90s to gain inspiration for our scrapbook layouts. And today I'm going to be using the 90s theme, and I'm going to be scrapping this picture of my daughter who has on, yes, a ninja mask with a Supergirl tutu costume. So I've pulled in some bits and pieces from my stash. The Live Colorfully is a die cut from a Dear Lizzie phrase die cut pack, and these little photo corners were a gift that I received probably 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, from a family member, and I've always loved the colors of them, and they've just kind of stayed in the bottom of my stash. And so here is a perfect opportunity to use that old stash. Even if it is really old, sometimes it can be used. I do a really good job of purging my stuff, but there's definitely some old pieces that I've been wanting to use up, so I'm excited to use this. I'm just pulling out some papers that I have been thinking about using together on this layout, and here is the mood board that I created for the 90s, and I'm going to be using that sweater on the or sweatshirt on the top right, and I'm going to mimic that as my background. So I'm just taking some Basil White cardstock. This stuff is great because you don't need to gesso it. The gelatos go on really smooth. So I'm using these Faber-Castell gelatos, and some of them have a shimmer to them, which turned out really cool in the end. And I'm scribbling them on as if they were crayons, just like in that sweatshirt that I showed you on that mood board. I'm just wanting to get the feel of that sweatshirt. I don't necessarily want to completely mimic it, and I'm pulling in colors that I know I'll be using from that Pink Fresh Studio paper, that cut apart sheet. So I'm going to go for more of like a grid layout on this, but first I'm going to watercolor down these gelatos to give them a little bit more of a softer feel, and it looks like a kindergartner did it right now. I totally recognize that. But you don't see, and I knew going into this because of the grid layout that I wanted to do, you won't see much of it except for some of the scriggly lines poking out from the sides of the paper pieces that I'm putting down. And I also wanted there to be some white space. So it turns out great in the end, and I'm really glad that I did it. But at this point, I'm like, this looks like a hot mess. It looks like a kindergartner did it. So let's just be done with that. Oh, after splatters. Yeah, because, if it looks like a hot mess, maybe splatters will make it look better. So I just mushed my gelatos down onto a piece of plastic packaging and added some water to it. And then I added even more water to it to make these bigger splatters on top of the tinier splatters that I used with my paintbrush. And I'm just putting the same color on the page. So if there's a purple area or lavender area, then I'm going to put the splatters right there. And it's okay if it goes on to another area, but it's going to be mostly concentrated on those same colored areas. So yeah, you just water down the gesso or the gelato, and there is no gesso. I did not gesso this. So you just water down the gelato and then kind of drip it over the top of that area, and that's the effect that you'll get. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe up some of this. That way it'll dry faster. It doesn't warp my page. I didn't use much water at all, so I didn't get any warping, which is really nice. Just dabbing up some of the color. I wanted the pigment of the color to stay, so I didn't want to dab it up too much, and I did leave it sit for a few minutes before dabbing up any extra moisture. So that's kind of a tip. If you're dabbing up stuff right away, you're going to get a lighter color. It's not going to be as pigmented. But if you let that bottom layer soak in for a minute, then it's going to be more pigmented. So now I've cut apart that Pink Fresh Studio cut apart sheet, and I'm going through and I'm seeing what colors I want, what phrases I want, and I'm putting the rest away for another project. So these are the colors that I definitely wanted to work with. The kind of mint green and the peachy pinks and the grays and the yellows and the blues. Those all remind me of the 90s. And in that mood board, you saw a lot of those same colors. I wore the stick-on earrings in the 90s because I wasn't allowed to get my ears pierced until I was 16. So that when I saw that picture, when I Googled 90s pop culture and I saw that picture, I'm like a total flashback to the 90s. So I took a lot of inspiration as well from that color and the chapstick, the Bonnie Bell lip smackers. Oh my gosh. That stuff is horrible for your lips. It dries your lips get addicted to it, but it was thebomb.com. So I'm also taking out this other piece of powdered paper from the Pink Fresh Studio, and then I have this little tiny piece of scrap left from paper from the Oasis collection, the Crepe Paper Oasis collection. I'm obsessed with that purple paper and the pink triangles. I feel like I need to buy more of it, but I have not bought more of it because I've appreciated it so much that I've used up every single scrap, and that's okay. Now it's on to the next obsession. So I'm just kind of using that paper to layer in the back of some of them to give them a little bit more grounding, and I do end up popping up some of the squares on foam, so it gives it some dimension. I didn't want it to look flat, and as you can see, you can't really see the background that much. You just see that the squiggles come out from behind the layers. And that's exactly the look that I was looking for. And I wanted to keep that white space around the border so that it gave it some kind of grounding or like a frame. I didn't want to have to back it with another white piece of paper. So I was really careful when I did the squiggles to make sure to stay within that perimeter. And so now I'm just kind of fussing around and placing down these scrap pieces of paper and the cut aparts to see what looks good. I'm making sure that I have colors spread out, that, if I have the yellow, that it's placed evenly around the page, that if I have that darker purple color, that I've placed that, farther apart to give your eye some movement, because in these grid layouts it's really hard to give your eye movement. It just all goes to the grid or to the photo, and so you want to be conscious of how your eye is going to move across the page of that grid and kind of treat that grid as if it was a pattern paper, even though it's not a pattern paper, it's the grid. So you still want to add those elements in that help move the eye around layout. Otherwise, it just it'll look flat, or it'll look not as interesting, I feel. And I'm not, a scrapbooking expert or anything, or design expert. This is just from maybe 2 years of art in college. I think I took 2 years of art in college. So yeah, these are those little photo corner pieces that I was telling you about that are like 10 years old, and I'm just backing them on some more of that really old Amy Tangerine paper. I bought this. Now leave a comment down below and let me know. I bought that paper when Michaels used to do like cooler paper lines. Before they went to like the hot buy pads, they had loose sheets of cardstock bound together with plastic packaging, and you could pick those up for $5. But it was like actual crepe paper lines, and it was a mix of those crepe paper lines. So in this one pack, I got like Amy Tangerine and whoever else was big at the time. I think that one actually was just the best of Amy Tangerine. So I got a lot of, no, because I had Crepe Paper Cool Kid in it. So it must have been best of Crepe Paper for that year. Anyway, leave a comment down below and tell me if you remember that, because I kind of wish that Michaels would go back to doing that. Although maybe not, because I really enjoy the scrapbooking stores that I purchase from online. So maybe I just need to stop acting old and appreciate the new instead of wishing that I could go back. Oh, so I'm just babbling here because you're just watching me stick stuff down, and I tried to cut out most of it for you. Oh, on this corner up here, I just felt like it needed a little bit more purple. I kind of wish I would have executed it a little bit better because now it looks like you have a plant sticking out, a purple plant sticking out of the top there. But I mean, it looks fine, and I don't think anybody's going to notice. You'll notice now that I pointed it out to you, but if you weren't OCD like me, then you would have never noticed until I had pointed it out to you. And if I would have cut that part out, you probably wouldn't have noticed that I had added that in. So it's just for my own satisfaction. So once I got all of these little paper pieces down, I realized that my Live Colorfully die cut really blended into everything. Now I could have added it over the bottom of the photo, but I really wanted to be able to see Abby's knees and legs kind of hanging off. So I didn't want to cover much of that. So I just angled it because nothing else is angled on the page. Everything's pretty straight, you know, geometrically. And so that being the only angled piece on the page gives it a little bit of a different, you know, catch for the eye. And also that I had put it on top of some of the black really helped. So I went ahead and I stitched with the same color green as the mint green in the pictures, and I did a really messy stitch back and forth on certain parts of the layout, and then I just did one stitch through those photo corners, and it gave it a lot of added dimension that I really liked. Now I'm going to take these enamel shapes. These, I think they're Studio Calico. I can't remember exactly. I've used them on a few of these layouts that you guys have seen me do this month because they really remind me of the 80s and 90s. So I took some of the colors that were specifically 90s colored and even the pattern on it. And you'll see in the close-ups at the end, the pattern on these enamel dots are just full-on 90s. So now I'm going to, of course, take some sequins and add them to the mix. And I loved the fact that the name of these sequins were Sparkle Power. Because it's totally Abby. She is totally Sparkle Power. I feel like sometimes, like, I would choose the name of things over the color just because I felt like the name of the thing fits the layout. I don't know. I'm weird. Let me know if you're weird too. And that's the reason why I love Shimmer's products so much is because of the punny names. It has nothing to do, I mean, I love Shimmer's products, but that is the reason why I have chosen Shimmer's over any other product, hands down, is because of the punny names. And it just so happens that I would choose it hands down, even if it didn't have the punny names, because it's a fabulous company and a fabulous product. So, I'm definitely a punny girl, and I like punny things. So now I'm taking some of these acetate shapes. These came in, I believe, the Pink Fresh Studio tag acetate. They might have come in something else. They were in my stash, and I pulled them out of the ephemera pack, and I never put them back, so I really don't know which line they're from now. But they're just like little starbursts. And here you're going to see me hum and haw because I am wondering, should I put journaling down, or should I just let the picture speak for itself? And I decided I'm just going to let the picture speak for itself, and then I'm going to add a little date stamp so I know what date it was. And then that's going to be done for my layout, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that you're joining in on this June challenge. I thought it was so much fun and stretched my imagination. This layout does not look like it came from the 90s. Definitely looks modern, but I love how you can take elements from each era and add them into your layouts and have it make sense to now. It doesn't have to be full on, that genre, but just take inspiration from anywhere and you can make it your own. Own your happy. All right, guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And at the end, you'll see my code to get 15% off at the SpiegelMom Scraps store. I know that she's doing some new releases for July, so follow on Instagram for more information on that as well. All right, talk to you later. Bye.